been almost 30 years since Final Fantasy Tactics dropped on the PlayStation in 1997. So when Square Enix slid in my DMs ahead of Gamescom, offering me the chance to get stuck in with its remaster, The Ivalice Chronicles, I jumped at the chance. Being able to also meet Maehiro-san and Yokoyama-san, the director and co-director of Ivalice Chronicles, also helped sweeten the deal. Now, I'm not the biggest lorehound or mega FF Tactics fan. I have played the game, primarily the War of the Lions version, which dropped on the PSP many moons ago, that had its own additional things like a reworked script, additional jobs, characters, and even multiplayer, though I really didn't dabble in it at that time. You will find, though, after some rudimentary investigation, that a majority of Final Fantasy Tactics fans are divided about which game is the best iteration. The War of the Lions version, of course, does have plenty of additions, but many argue that it's too derivative. That and the fact that it's plagued with performance issues has lots of people going back to the original despite some of the issues with the script that game has. And thus enters this remaster, the Ivalice Chronicles. I had around roughly an hour to play through the game. I played through the entire tutorial in the beginning sequence, alongside a fight deeper into Chapter 2, where you're charged with protecting Princess Avelia, of course, alongside Delita, and fending off Gafgari in the turncoat. Now, the first and most striking difference between this remaster and any of the other games is the fact that you are given two different aesthetic choices when you decide to tackle FF Tactics. You can either play through the enhanced version, which is what you're seeing on the screen here in some of this B-roll, where everything kind of is smoothed over, almost like a painting. Or you can go down the purest route, which kind of has no filter, each pixel is clearly defined, but there is no CRT filter, so it doesn't quite look like what you'd expect if you'd played the original way back when. Ultimately, I like the new look. It's what I went for, it's what I chose when I was playing, and it might not be palatable for everyone, but there are some additional things you can do in the menus, for example, like being able to remove the soft focus on the camera in cutscenes, which kind of helps balance things out. Useful, I suppose, as not everybody quite likes the diorama or almost maquette-like look. Square has also been quite vocal about the fact that they're introducing voice acting into this iteration of the game. It might be a small detail for some, but I do feel like it helps you get more engrossed in the cutscenes and the world. I actually sat and listened to what people were saying, despite knowing kind of how things were going to play out, instead of doing what I normally do in most RPGs, where I kind of just speed read and then skip dialogue until I'm ready to fight. I'm pretty sure the game also does feature another script that's been rewritten from the ground up, so don't expect things to be one-to-one with either the original or the War of the Lions version. Another novel introduction with this remaster is the ability to choose which difficulty you want to play on. I believe you've got Squire, which is easy, you've got Knight, which is normal, and then Tactician, I believe, which is hard. I decided to play through the game on normal, and quite honestly that was a little bit of a mistake, primarily because it is just so easy to steamroll through the fights. Those of you who are familiar with the game, or just maybe familiar with tactical RPGs in general, I recommend that you probably stick with hard mode or Tactician if you want a greater challenge. When it comes to the game's design in terms of combat, things are very much intact, and if you've played the game then you know exactly what to expect. You take turns moving around the battlefield, much akin to a game board. You are able to select where you move, how far you move, which abilities or items that you potentially might want to use. You're still able to destroy enemy equipment with select attacks. You're able to have equipment that automatically does things like counter, for example, depending on what sort of attack comes your way. I didn't get a chance to mess all too much with this in the preview, but snooping around through some of the menus shows that all of these from the original are still very much present here for you to mess with in the remaster. And of course, permadeath is still very much a thing for characters who aren't integral to the game's story. If a character or party member falls in combat, you've got basically 3 turns to find a way to revive them before they crystallize and are gone forever. Final Fantasy Tactics was always praised for having a much more mature or darker feel about it, from its story down to its game design choices like the permadeath, and that is still very much evident here 30 years on. The game's heavily adored job system also appears to return untouched. I didn't have all too much time again to mess with it during my previous session, but there's no doubt in my mind that you'll be able to build up some of your characters into unstoppable menaces, provided that you grind out certain jobs for abilities. One final addition that I want to talk about before rounding things off is the Chronicle section in the game. This is one for the lorehounds or perhaps the forgetful. There's an encyclopedia here that lays out everything from the people in the game to what certain terms mean to even what each location represents. Then we have the State of the Realm menu, which literally gives you a play-by-play of what has occurred across a timeline, so you can get a handle on the situation of the different factions in the world. And then we have the event menu, which basically just lets you rewatch cutscenes in case you missed something. At the bottom of the screen we have stratagems, which you can click through and you'll see a bunch of basics about the game, about combat, and it also provides a few additional tips for success on the battlefield. The leadership section straight up just lets you review some of the tutorial pop-ups that you see in-game that you might have skipped through, and then right at the very end we have the academic reports, which basically are in-game achievements that I believe are directly tied to trophies and achievements for PlayStation and Xbox respectively, and no doubt the achievements on Steam too. I'm honestly just glad to have another reason to dive back into the world of tactics. It very much still feels like a genre-defining RPG, and if you've never played tactics, but you like strategy or tactical RPGs, then you definitely owe it to yourself to check this out. But that's going to round out this video for now. Let me know down in the comments below which version of Tactics you prefer, the original or the War of the Lions edition. If you enjoyed today's video, then leave a like and consider subscribing for more Final Fantasy Tactics. With all that said and done though, it has been me, Devil Never Cry. I'd like to thank all of you for watching, and as always, I'll see you all next video.